at Fatima one day to tell us again of the great needful prayer. As her children, we answer this way. Dear Lady of Fatima, we come on bended knee to beg your intercession for peace and unity. Dear Mary, won't you show us the right and shining way? We pledge our love and offer you a rosary each day.
So you ask yourself, what's Cardinal Sean doing in the picture of our pilgrimage? Well, the fact is, we met him at the airport and we flew together to Lisbon, where he was going to be on the altar with the Pope. So quick air flight and on board some happy pilgrims. Some you may recognize, some you may not. They came from all over. I love it when a plan comes together. It takes an awful lot of time to put a plan like this together with something that requires much effort. And Deacon Paul, Christine, Maureen, and myself found the guide a while back when we toured the same area. You need a ride and you need a pilot for that ride. Once you have that, you need a base of operations. The Hotel Cinquantenario was ours in Fatima, and it provided us with the comforts of home, a coffee shop, and places to sit and talk and chat and rest ourselves in between all the sightseeing. Teresa, our tour guide, took us out and showed us the lay of the land the day before the big events were all to start. So she showed us everything we needed to know as far as landmarks go, where to meet, how to get in and out of the area where all the festivities were going to be happening. And it was important that we do that because you can't travel as 40 with 1,000,000 people. This slide is the Berlin Wall, or a piece of it, of course, not the whole wall. It was one of the places where we knew to meet. So Teresa, it was brilliant when it comes to this kind of thing, although nobody's prepared for what the Pope would bring. This new symbol that you see here was designed for the centennial. So this is the area where all the festivities are going to take place. And it's about 2.5 times the size of the St. Peter's Square in Rome. It's a picture of St. John Paul II, this giant rosary bead. These things will all come into play as we go through the slides. I'm trying to just show you a taste of what we're looking at on kind of a dreary day. The rains had stopped, but look at the size and the space, and that's the cathedral, or the lower basilica, as they call it. And it's Jesus is in the middle on a giant obelisk type thing, as you can see him there in a better view. Once again, another picture, and you'll notice the two posters, they get bigger as I zoom in here, of the two saints to be canonized, Jacinta and Francisco, and they bracket Our Lady's statue. And that statue weighs about 30 tons, believe it or not. So to try and give you some scale, 30 tons of concrete donated by the United States of America. So again, you can see where it had just recently rained, but it only spit on us. It was inside the entrance to the big basilica. Right here, this shows the small chapel. Way in the back, you'll see it. There'll be bigger pictures of it. The small chapel that was built exactly where the apparition took place. So we always get a sheet that tells us what we're doing the following day. This is it. 5:30 in the morning, wake-up call. Breakfast, departure at 7. Big day. Get on the bus. We went right to the lower basilica, keep saying that, to visit the tombs of the saints. I took a few snapshots while we were inside there. There's so much that I took. I took 2,000 pictures, and I'm trying to cram 16 minutes of it in here for you. So different views. This is the upper basilica, which seats 5,000. It's on the other end of what would be the St. Peter's Square. You'll see it when I give you some overhead shots. But again, Teresa's showing us where to be, how to get in and out, because once it starts, it's pretty tough. We had lunch when it was all over, just so you know that being a pilgrim isn't all that tough. The food was great there, and it overlooked the area. But right after we were done, we found out that Pope Francis was coming, and we positioned ourselves. So I want you to get ready for this, because this was really something. We're all kind of just standing around waiting. We waited about an hour. Our group is only a row or two back from the street. Everybody's in anticipation. We've heard that a helicopter is going to come by and drop him off from the air base. And this is a mother and daughter who walked from Lisbon all the way, walked in a pilgrimage. And there's the helicopter. Everybody's frantic to see the Pope. You can just see the white vehicle beside that guy's phone. And then the guy sticks the phone in front of the vehicle. But I didn't let that deter me. Here comes the Pope mobile. He's coming closer. It's just incredible, the sensation you get when you get this close to the Holy Father. And when he pulled up in front like that, I took what I consider to be the best pictures I've ever taken on a trip. It was really special. Don't turn your back on me, Holy Father, please. All kidding aside, after the Holy Father went by, we just had barely enough time to make it for our supper, and then we had to get right back out there because the vigil was going to start, and we needed to be in position.
You promised at Fatima each time that you appeared to help us if we pray to you, to banish war and fear. Dear Lady, on first Saturdays, we ask your guiding hand for grace and guidance here on earth and protection for our land.
Unbelievable as it may seem, when we positioned ourselves to do the rosary, the Holy Father came by us again. Not quite as close as the last time, but entering in the Pope mobile as it was getting dark. So I'm shooting some of these pictures from the Jumbotron, and you'll see the person in the bottom right doing the hand signs for the deaf. So the Holy Father gets out of his Pope mobile quite a ways from the chapel of the apparition. He goes in there, and when he gets in there, he approaches the statue, and the place goes silent. Shortly thereafter, he sits down and begins to pray. In concert with the Holy Father, let's all of us for 1 minute pray for someone in need. The reason I asked you to do that is that that was 1 minute. Imagine 6 minutes of the exact same silence, only there were 1 million people just breathing. When he was finished, he lit the symbolic candle and passed the light on to the crowd. Of course, the crowd was already lighting their candles. It would have taken days to light 1 million of them. But the Holy Father had his candle lit and passed it on and began the rosary. And here's a little bit of what it looks and sounds like. So with the Pope finishing the rosary and looking so magnificent, look at this. Are you kidding me? Really something. That's a Jumbotron visual, which gives you a better picture of what I couldn't show you with a camera. But it's time to process Our Lady's statue, and before that happens, the Pope is going to leave in his Pope-mobile, and he goes right by us again. It's like unbelievable that we were in this particular position to be this close to him twice in the same day. So they prepare the statue of Our Lady to put her on a bed of roses. They take her out of the small chapel, which is exactly where she appeared. And then they bring her down, place her on the roses, and they process her through the whole crowd. They go way up from where the little chapel is. They bring her through with a bunch of guys carrying her. You can see them. This is again on the Jumbotron, but it shows you what they're doing, and they carry her through. The crowd goes wild. The noise level of, blessings and Our Lady, and oh man, it's really too much for me to describe here, so I hope the pictures are helping. But just imagine yourself amongst all these people when this is going on. So that was the visual. Ended at about 11 o'clock that night, and we had to get back to our hotel in Coimbra. There's quite a story about that, but I'll save it for another time. We had to get up early back. Here we are next morning. This is the 13th, and they process Our Lady back into the area where it's all going on. And when she's coming through, the people are going nuts. Getting a picture of it is really something. The Portuguese people in particular just... So this is where we are the following day, getting prepared for Mass. Found our Jumbotron again. It was even more densely packed than the night before. But look at where we are in relation to that basilica that I had showed you earlier with no one in the area at all. And now we're watching the Pope preside or celebrate Mass, and Our Lady's statue processed in. Mass took about 2.5 hours because it included the canonization of the two children saints. So once the Mass was over, the Holy Father had to get out, and they had things all blocked off. So in order to make that all work out, if you were on one side of that giant plaza, you were able to exit on one block and another part of the road. If you're on the other side where we were, you had to exit on another side. We had been given the opportunity to meet with Cardinal Sean after the Mass at the Chapel of the Apparition. Unfortunately, only about a third of us could get there because the Pope had things blocked off, or he didn't have things blocked off, security did. So those of us who couldn't get to where the Archbishop was went over and worked our way back to the Cinquantenario Hotel. And we waited on the side of the road because we were going to get one more shot at visiting with the Pope as he left Fatima. Check it out.
Show us the right.
prior to His Holiness leaving in the Pope Mobile to go past us, he was out in the middle of the entire space of a million being driven through, and the custom is to wave a white handkerchief to say goodbye to Our Lady when she leaves, and they did this for the Pope. So we had the remainder of the day to explore, and then the following morning we got up for breakfast, all your pilgrims, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, smiles on our faces, having experienced something that won't be duplicated in our lifetimes. 100th anniversary of the apparitions in Fatima, really special. And when we were finished, we left the hotel in Coimbra, boarded our bus, and we went to Mass at the local church where Lucia, who lived to be a ripe old age of 80-something, the last to actually see and speak with Our Lady, is where she spent her time as a nun. So we had a beautiful Mass there. Deacon Paul Dow had the opportunity to be at the podium and read the Gospel with an Irish priest celebrating the Mass. They gave Christine a special flower that's grown on the grounds, and the group posed for pictures. I took that one, and Teresa took this one. And then we took one more picture that day of the group, because when we left there, we went to a place called Bom Jesus, the Good Jesus. And on the steps of this beautiful basilica, I'm learning what all this means. That's where we finish. Awesome.